Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Perspective. I am Vladimir, one of your co-hosts and the chief political analyst, I think. Super important.
Yes, and I'm Leah, the other important person that has to talk about some political importance. Yes, that's right.
Like a chief political analyst, maybe? Like,
Sure.
could you be a chief? Perfect.
I mean, everyone's calling themselves everyone wants to give themselves a name these days, and it doesn't matter if you spew the truth or just nonsense. I guess if you have that title, it means that you're important.
Yeah. Actually, I'm very sad because by the time this video airs, it looks like Joe Biden's actually going to be named the president-elect officially. Like, not by the media, but by the U.S. constitutional process.
Yeah.
And up until now, I've been calling myself the president-elect the whole time, because if he can do it, why can't I?
Anyone these days can become, it really is true that in America, you could become anything you want. Like, seriously.
Well, keep in mind, I'm an immigrant, so I'm not going to be the president-elect. But as long as Joe Biden was calling himself before he was the president-elect, I figured it's okay for everybody.
But what I'm trying to say is that, with how America is, like, seriously, anybody can become anything. Like, the most racist person in the world for 47 years can become president, and no one will blink an eye at that. Like, that's not suspect at all. Okay, you know what? We forgive. He's not like that anymore, even though 47 years tells a different story. So literally anybody can become anything in America.
I mean, look at Stacey Abrams. Despite having lost the Georgia election for governor, she's still calling herself one. That's the key. You can only be the president-elect until the Electoral College officially casts their vote. But if you want to claim to be governor, by all means, knock yourself out.
We do have that freedom of speech thing here, so.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to say that we should take away the freedom of speech, but I'm just, she could say that she could be anybody, and the world would believe it. So
I don't know how much of the world believes it, but speaking of the freedom of speech, ironically, I do want to get a little housekeeping out of the way. I think this hasn't been said enough lately, but I just want to point this out to our audience. I want to make sure everybody understands and everybody still remembers. Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Oh, man. I wonder how many people actually believe that he did.
I don't know. Now, if you're a conspiracy theorist, all right, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you're going to start asking the questions. Well, if Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, does that mean that Jeffrey Epstein is still alive? No, he isn't. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. He just didn't do it himself.
Yeah, he had a lot of secrets that could have ruined a lot of lives. So let's.
Oh yeah. Well, I think everybody should draw their own conclusions. Now, I don't know if you saw this, but YouTube actually put out a statement. It's like the YouTube blog saying that they're going to start taking down videos of anybody that alleges that this election was stolen and there has been massive voter fraud and stuff like that. So we're not allowed to say it.
So they're censoring that. So what? Freedom of speech does not works for in this instance. Like, if you, this is just common sense. I don't care what anybody says. Like,
well,
we all know the truth. We all know the truth. That's all I did a survey. 1/3 of the people I surveyed believe that this was a free and fair election. That's because they're idiots. Like, seriously.
I surveyed 3 people. One person thinks that it was a free and fair election.
Okay, well, that person is an idiot. But if you were that on the whole entire population, just I know it's on a small scale, but if you were to like, you know, ask that on a national level, that 1/3 would be a lot of like people living in denial, people who just don't have common sense, and they would believe it. Like they would. I honestly believe that they would believe without a shred of doubt, like this was a free and fair election. And it's like, that is so sad.
Well, I do think that a lot of people are saying it without actually believing it. Ami Horowitz did an interview on the streets of New York, and he was asking people if they believe in the free and fair election, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." He goes, "Well, what if the Democrats cheat and Joe Biden is elected?" And people are like, "Yeah, I guess that's okay."
Yeah, I know.
I think a lot of people realize that this was not. How can I say this without getting this video pulled off of YouTube? I think a lot of people have questions about this.
If it does get pulled down from YouTube, would consider as a lawsuit, because you're literally you're like restricting my my freedom of speech, which is rights that we have here in America. I can say whatever the hell I want to say. So please, I encourage you guys to take down this video, because I will see you. Okay.
All right. Anyway, now that that little bit of housekeeping is done, I know you wanted to talk about the vaccine.
Yeah, I guess. So the vaccine, actually, it just did come out a couple of days ago that the the FDA did give approval for Pfizer. So now I'm wondering how long this is going to take to actually get distributed, because, I have this theory that, I don't know if you noticed this, well, had read this, but first it was the UK who had decided, okay, we're going to order these. It meets our standards. Yeah, some people with allergies, if you have these particular allergies, you probably shouldn't take it. But other than that, we're going to start ordering this stuff and start distributing this stuff, or making it available, I believe, December 15th. And of course, Dr. Fauci had something to say about that, saying that they're being reckless and moving too fast. But you know what it is? It's this thing that America doesn't want to come in second. The same thing with Russia and us trying to get our, the first man up in space. We don't want to be second. So when another countries like, okay, we're going to fast track this thing because we looked at the data, we say this is suffice enough for us to start administering it, and in the process we'll also look at other things that could happen, other side effects that could occur, which is what they did. But then Canada came out with this. I was like, oh shit, so now you got the UK and now Canada approving before America. And it is, I just think America did not like to become anything other than first. They feel like they are trendsetters. Like it always comes out in America first. So like, if it comes out in America first, then the world, it's good for the world. And when Dr. Fauci had said that, that they were pretty much, moving too fast, and like their decision to do it was reckless and careless, I honestly believe that it was because if other countries, especially Western countries, were decided that this vaccine was sufficient enough to distribute out to the masses, that would mean that America would need to get on board and do the same thing. And with that, with people getting vaccinated, that means restrictions will have to go away, because the only reason why we have restrictions is because we don't have a vaccine, because you keep saying that it keeps spreading, right? Even though everyone's wearing all these.
A lot of politicians are already saying vaccines or not, we're still going to require masks and lockdowns and stuff like that. So,
I think it's just honestly, this power-hungry individuals. Like, they don't, like, I know, like, I don't care what anybody says. If the flu came out and you had vaccines for that, no one's going to shut down America. So even though you keep saying that this world, our economy won't get back up to speed, the way of life in America won't get back up to speed unless we have this vaccine. Now you have this vaccine and you still want to, have these restrictions around. You still want to say wear all your PPE, even though it doesn't protect you, we're shit. And it's like, the only reason why I feel like the reason that they don't want to administer this vaccine as fast as possible is because, like I said, these governors, especially in these states where they're restricting it so much that people can't even move outside of their own homes, can't even have Thanksgiving and Christmas, but yet these can go to places like the French Laundry or the London Laundry, whatever that restaurant's called, fly out of state
French
to go
Laundry.
there. What is it?
French Laundry.
The French Laundry. These mofos could go fly out of state, you know, but their own people in their own states, they have to stay locked down. These governors,
who was the guy that said that everybody needs to restrict their travel, and he did this out of like Cabo, I think.
I can't. I mean, one of the I can't remember which governor that was, but the governor of New Mexico, like New Mexico has the worst lockdown restrictions of all states right now. And that governor decided to go, like after she had administered these lockdowns, she decided to take her ass over to the French Laundry, like not even a couple of days later, to have meetings and food, and just like, you know, that whole do as I say, not as I do, that is bullshit. Like, you need to you're making these rules for everyone. Don't you think that you are a leader? You're supposed to lead by example, and you're not doing it. But with this vaccine being distributed, with this vaccine being distributed, and when it does, these people would have to relinquish their power. They would have to start, lifting these restrictions. And honestly, I don't think they want to. They got power hungry, and they like it. They like having people on lockdown. This socialist atmosphere. Like, everyone has to be miserable. It's like, oh.
Well, they've a lot of people have already kind of let it slip out of the bag. And it's really funny the way the media is covering it, right? So there was a guy in the Davos group, right? I guess it's a think tank in Europe, and he said that we need to have the Great Reset, right? And then who's the little whiny crybaby in Canada? Justin Trudeau, right? Justin Trudeau came out and started talking about the Great Reset, right? But if anybody mentions it, the media immediately jumps to, you're just some conspiracy theorist. And like, wait, they're the ones that are talking about it. I didn't come up with this. It wasn't me. Justin Trudeau and the guy from the Davos group, and they're all talking about the Great Reset. And they're all talking about how all these restrictions and all these lockdowns have already had a positive effect for pollution and stuff like that. It's like, listen, you're not even trying to hide this behind, like, you're not trying to hide behind the safety of the people you're supposed to be governing, right? Because that could be understandable. I could understand when somebody says, listen, we're gonna, go on, day 387 of the 15-day lockdown because the data shows that it's working, right? Which is why it worked on day 16 and 17 and 320. I could get it, but at this point, they're not even pretending anymore. It's the great socialist restructuring, which is a conspiracy theory. It's like, I don't know how you can call it a conspiracy theory when it's literally happening in front of your very eyes.
People.
Now, did you hear about President Trump's executive order on vaccines?
Mm-mm.
So one of the I guess supposed cabinet members for Joe Biden was saying that once you get the very needy, I guess, the most susceptible in the United States, once you give them the vaccine, before it goes out to the rest of the population, he wants to distribute it throughout the rest of the world. And then once everybody else gets it, and then we can have it, which is insane. It's our vaccine. Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking it, but I want the option to. As an American citizen, I want the option to take it if it's out there. And
you said that this is Trump's? Trump had decided to do this?
No. This was one of Joe Biden's proposed cabinet members.
Okay,
right?
That makes more sense.
Yeah, he did this a while ago. Well, Trump, in response, signed an executive order saying that all the vaccine, all of the U.S. citizens who have the right to the vaccine, right, they're going to get the option before it goes out to the rest of the world.
That's how it should be, especially if it's being
But
especially
think
if you already
about
put
this.
it in a pre-order for purchase, for these vaccines. Yeah, it makes sense.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like Joe Biden can overturn it. He can sign a new executive order saying that, we're just not going to go with that.
And if he does, that just proves he does not give a fuck about American people. He cares about globalization.
Exactly. And that's kind of the point, right? Because right now, Donald Trump can ensure that the vaccine goes to the American people, and then Joe Biden can just start distributing it throughout the rest of the world. But by signing the executive order, now Joe Biden has to specifically overturn the executive order, right? It's not just a matter of, we're just changing strategy. He has to specifically change the strategy that explicitly states that we're going to take care of America first and then everybody else, right?
I think
he has to say, we're going to take care of everyone else, then you can have it.
I think that was a really good political move by Trump, because this will pretty much put Biden it would pretty much put him on blast. If he decides to change that or just veto that, get it out, undo that executive order, it truly does show where his constituents, or where his his
loyalties.
Huh?
It shows where his loyalties lie.
Yeah, his loyalties, his policies, everything that he has to do that comes with his presidency, what it will find most important above, anything else when it comes to American people or just American way of life. And I think that was a really good strategy. Thank you, Donald, for doing that.
Yeah.
Because so many people feel that, because the one thing I will say, like when talking with some of my other friends, so many people feel like Biden would reunite America. Biden is the answer to bringing back America and, having equality and putting America first and all this other bullshit. I'm just like, okay, I really don't see how you think that, but fine. Let's go ahead and believe that nonsense all you want. And we'll just see what he does when it comes to him becoming president. And because as much as I would like Trump to be president again, like have a second term, I just don't think it would happen. And it's not like I think anyone with common sense can clearly tell that this election,
don't say it. Don't say it.
No, I said, okay, I don't care, but this is freedom of speech. YouTube, if you decide to take this down, I will sue you. Like, this is a forewarning. I will sue you. This is not defamation. This is not putting down anybody's character. This is my legit opinion. So go ahead and try to take it down. I promise you, you will hear from an attorney about this. Okay. Anyone, like all my friends who always say that, that he will put this, and he's the person that will bring and unite America together and all this other stuff. And especially those who believe that this is a free and fair election. There's no way it will change. I do think that it would change their mind once they see that he has overturned, President Trump executive order to take care of the American people first before anything else. I think it
will not. I promise you.
You still think they'll believe? Oh no, he still has our best interest in heart.
No, you know whose mind is going to change. There is 10% of the people. This is according to the something dark side. There's a company that's basically did a survey to find out how many people had cast their vote for Joe Biden in the mail-in ballot, and then later found out about the Biden scandal, right? And how many people have never heard about it and cast their vote for the Biden scandal. And it's looking like 10% of the people that voted for Joe Biden, if they had heard about the whole, his involvement with China and Russia and Ukraine and all the corruption, all the stuff that the mainstream media has been suppressing, 10% of the people that voted for Biden said that they would cast their vote in another direction. They would vote for Trump, which would guarantee Trump a landslide victory, right? And so, what if 10% of the people that voted for Biden voted for Trump instead?
Yeah, because
you don't think it would guarantee a victory?
I mean, no, it would definitely guarantee a victory. But do I think they would have changed their mind? I don't know, because
well, no. I'm telling you, this is the survey. 10% said that they would. The other 90% said they would not, which means that the other 90%, which is, I mean, you're talking about an election that basically divided the country 50-50. You know, it's a super close election, right? So you're talking about like 45% of the population would have voted for Joe Biden regardless of what happened.
I believe that, because I definitely, I feel that if this had been the other way around, if it had been Trump, it would not have been 10%. It would have been 90. It would have been the opposite. They would have been like 90% of them probably would have voted for Biden. Like, I seriously believe that so many people just had such a disdain against Trump. And I don't even know what for. Like, I don't even know what for. Like, the thing is, what I don't understand about.
Not even the people that hate Trump.
There's no.
The people that support Donald Trump, if there was credible information that he committed massive acts of corruption the way that Biden did, people that support Trump would stop supporting him immediately.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay.
If it had been the other way, if it wasn't Biden on accused of all this stuff, if it had been Trump instead, it would not have just been 10% that would have changed their mind. I would say 90% would have changed their mind and voted for Biden instead, because they would be like, no, not Trump. But when it comes to Biden, for some reason, I don't even know why. Like the thing is about Trump that distinguished him from the others is that, you can't say that before he came into presidency, that things that he did in his life affected people on a grand masses. You cannot say that he contributed to the redlining of Blacks when getting housing opportunity, when it came to just getting a home loan. You can't say that he contributed to the mass arrest during that 94 bill. You cannot say that a lot of the things that everything that he did in his life before coming to presidency, it affected people in the masses across the whole entire United States. However, you can't say that about all politicians. You can say everything, for instance, like with Biden, he's been in office for 47 years. 47 years, he had made policies that affected masses, and it wasn't in the greatest of it wasn't in the greatest of ways. Like, he hurt a lot of people and different who are just marginalized or just, POC. He hurt a lot of people like that, but still people would forgive a man like that. For some reason, you would forgive a politician who did all of that for his whole entire career. But when this one man comes into office, and I can't not tell you how many times, this man has, he has said his piece about white supremacy. Can't tell you how many times. All you have to do is go online and look. There's videos all across YouTube that shows this man pretty much not supporting white supremacy, and also not even supporting BLM when it comes to riots. It's those who want to start riots and those who want to get, physical and abusive, whether it's through Black supremacy or white supremacy. You have seen this, but no one wants to look at it. No one wants to do their homework. For some reason, they just cannot forgive this man for anything, but they can forgive
what's really disturbing, it's not even the people, right? So I think I told you, a friend of mine emailed me the clip, right, of the first presidential debate where Chris Wallace, and the truly sad part is Chris Wallace asked Donald Trump this like 4 years prior, right? And Donald Trump said, no, I don't support white supremacy. Like, I'll be perfectly honest. If Chris Wallace asked me that, I wouldn't have handled it as well as the president.
I think people just don't like Trump because he's not politically incorrect. He doesn't really care. He will not, bow to the stipulations. He's not that type of person. He's not a
Well,
yes
because
man.
he doesn't owe anybody.
Yeah, that's true. He doesn't owe.
He doesn't owe anybody. He doesn't have, the Trump Foundation, which gets money from the sheikhs and from, Wall Street and stuff like that, the way that Clinton does. Right.
Yeah.
Joe Biden has been in the pocket of the banking industry for pretty much the entire time he was in the Senate. Right. Donald Trump doesn't owe anybody anything, and that's why he could do whatever the hell he wanted to.
My thing is,
but well, let me tell you this. So my friend sent me this clip, and if you remember, Chris Wallace goes, "Do you denounce white supremacy?" And Donald Trump goes, "Sure." And she sends it to me and goes, "He can't even denounce white supremacy." And I'm looking at the clip. I'm like, do I not like, is this an immigrant thing? Do I not understand what the word "sure" means? Does "sure" mean something completely different? Like, honestly, it's mind-boggling. Like, the man literally said, "Sure, I denounce white supremacy." It's like, yeah, see, he won't even do it.
It's like, you know what, whenever you go to a restaurant and a waitress come up to you and say, "Hey, would you like some water?" And you say, "Sure," that does not mean, "No, I don't want water." That means, "Yes, I want water." So it's like, you're like, what the like, I just, look, people, common sense, like, out the door. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy, right? And then when he did that, what was it? It wasn't the second debate. It was that interview, right? It was supposed to be a debate and turned into just a town hall. And she goes, so can you categorically say that you denounce white supremacy? But again, this is like a week later. He goes, "Yes, I denounce white supremacy." You don't sound too sure about that. Is there reservation in your voice? Like, are you insane? Like, are you literally insane? You need help. Like, maybe call a counselor. It's truly sickening. And I'm telling you, I would not have handled it that well.
I'd be like, "Bitch, if you were to ask me that shit one more time, I swear to God, you about to get." I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And it's like, look, I get it maybe if it's like once or twice, right?
But they asked this man this a lot.
Why did you tell us?
I can't stand to be asked the same question 3 times. It just irritates me.
They have asked, like,
right.
This is one, I can't, damn, I should find this clip and put it in, be inserted in here. It's off of YouTube. I can't remember. Someone put it actually together. It's like at least 40 something times this man has denounced, white supremacists and black supremacists on, hatred on both sides. And I'm just like, and then, people go around like Benny, I can't remember his name, but Benny, who goes around and talks about, like, when he gave this one interview talking about people like how do you think Trump has never denounced white supremacy, and they all like, no, and then they start playing the clip just like, "Oh, but I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't."
Yeah, well, it's the thing, people don't look at the source material ever, right? Like, people are still talking about the Charlottesville thing. It was like, well, he said there's good people on both sides. Like, do you know what you're talking about?
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. The driver of the car is a disgrace to himself, his family, and this country. And that is, you can call it terrorism, you can call it murder, you can call it whatever you want. You have you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent. I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch. Many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. So, this week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? And is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You know, you really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop? You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And you had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. You had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? In the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest, because, you know, I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this, there are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment for our country, a horrible moment.
Like, do you have any idea what you're talking about? Or as we talked about this in a previous video with the, you know, calling MS-13 animals.
There could be an MS-13 gang member I know about. If they don't reach a certain threshold, I cannot tell ICE about them.
Yeah. We have people coming into the country, or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals.
Right? Well, he called immigrants animals. Well, he called a very specific segment of the immigrant population, right? Yeah. The MS-13, the gangsters, the people that are raping and torturing and, you know, terrorizing their communities. And, you know, as I said before, I do think it was very masterfully that he actually got Nancy Pelosi to support MS-13 and come to the defense of a ruthless gang of, I mean, criminals. They're the criminals. I don't have another word for this.
You know what it is when it comes to, like, because, like, there's this one tuber, I'm not going to mention her name because, you know, I do like her content. There's a lot of things. Mm-hmm. There's some things I don't, there's some things I do not agree with her on, but overall, I do think she's a good person. You know, I'm not going to say her views are warped, but when it was Trump against Hillary for president, she felt like Hillary should have won. And it's like, have you looked at her history? Did you not see the atrocities that she, you know, placed on Haiti, people of Haiti? But yet when Donald Trump had said something about Haiti, saying that, I can't remember what it was, but it's like a shithole. Like, yeah.
He was talking about people. I don't know if it was about Haiti specifically. It was a while ago. I think I know what you're talking about.
But it was about the infrastructure of the country. Like, mm-hmm. You know, the infrastructure of the country is pretty, you know, I haven't been there, but it's terrible. I wouldn't say, I don't want to be offensive and say that, oh my God, the infrastructure is a shithole. But like during the time of the hurricanes, but the earthquakes mm-hmm. and stuff, their infrastructure did crumble. So I'm not going to sit here and, you know, try to sugarcoat his words when he said shithole.Maybe that wasn't the nicest of words that he should have chose. Like, he should have chose something else, but their infrastructure was terrible, you know. But like, it's like, did you not hear what Hillary did to the Haitian people? Not to mention, you want to talk about someone who's all about women's rights, especially if you're in the Democrat Party. Do you not understand that she took millions of dollars from Middle Eastern, what was it, Syria? Were they in Iran? Was it Syria or Iran? I can't remember, but one of those countries, she took money from them, like a country that suppresses women's rights, but yet you still want to sit here?
She was taking money from Saudi Arabian, like from the crown prince and like from the royal family.
And it's like, do you not see how that contradicts like everything that you want to stand for? And it's like, not to mention you want to talk about how you hate. What really gets me, what really gets me, because they see these Democrats as someone who's against these people who are against capitalism. All these Democrats made money off of you. I don't care what the you gotta say. All these, whether it's Republicans, Democrats, Independents, you don't think Democrats make money off of you? Look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at Joe Biden. Look at I don't care what they say. Oh, they might have other businesses. I don't give a if they use their name, their family name, in order to get money because they think they can have access to the government or whatever. That is a form of capitalism. That's more of corrupt capitalism as finance.
Yeah, that's cronyism. That's not capitalism.
That's corrupt capitalism. My thing is that they are so against, like, some of them even wear like cream across these t-shirts that says that pretty much says capitalism ruins everything. Capitalism ruins everything. And I was like, you do know that you're on YouTube, right? Like, you're getting paid from ads, like you're getting paid from sponsors, you're getting paid to sell your products. And it's like, that is a form of capitalism. You do know that, right? Like, you do know that.
Not to mention, keep in mind, like, you didn't make that sweatshirt. How do you think that came about? You didn't make that in your garage. Yeah, it's sort of like how. I think I told you about this, right? AOC is selling a sweatshirt for like $58 that says that it's like tax the rich or eat the rich or something like that, right? It's a $58 sweatshirt. Like, I think you're doing socialism wrong.
It's like, I don't know. They want to talk about, we want to have social and economical equality, but yet, and that we're totally against capitalism. And for some reason, a lot of people associate Democrats with not being a capitalist. And it's like, dude, that's not true. They're just as capitalist as Republicans are. The only difference is they want to be capitalists and still want to tax out of everybody. Like, it doesn't matter.
Well,
and it's
no, hold on. Let's not start getting this confused, right?
What do you mean?
If you're in Congress, if you're in political office, you're not a capitalist, right? What a capitalist does is he puts his own reputation, his own money, takes all the risk, he puts everything on the line, and he tries to provide a product to the masses, to the general public that they willingly give him money for. If you're a politician and you own a business and you're coercing people into giving you money, you own a charitable foundation and you sell your influence to the Saudis and to, God knows who else, that's not capitalism. So Republicans or Democrats, I don't care what political party you're in, you're not a capitalist if you're in public office, right? That's the epitome of socialism. You're being paid by the hard work, by the sweat of the brow of the American people.
Yeah, you're paid. Yeah, the paycheck, but your side profits that you make off of your name, off of your foundations, off of that is a form of capitalism. Like, whether it be, through cronyism. I'm not talking about the paycheck that you get, like firefighters and military personnel, police officers. I'm not talking about that paycheck. I'm talking about what you get, your proceeds or profits that you get outside of that paycheck. A lot of them do try to use their name in order to make more profits. A lot of them do try to come up with products that absolutely does nothing, or come up with policies that needs funding, so donate to their charity. These policies are their product that they're trying to sell to the American people. Like, no, there's other ways that you can get tax dollars. I'm sorry, like, there's other ways that you get tax dollars besides wanting to tax everybody, and raise taxes on those who work hard for their money, use capitalism in the right way, and to help those get to help those get jobs, to make jobs for others. There's, they like to tax the kind of those people without realizing, hey, it's them who are providing jobs, not the US government. You guys do provide jobs, but like, let's just be honest here. You guys provide maybe like, let's say like 5% of the jobs, whereas capitalists and small mom and pop shops, big corporations, they are the ones that make the jobs. Like, there are.
No, it's, I think the conversation about like the free market and capitalism, I think we can actually have that. That would be an interesting conversation.
I know we digressed a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been pondering the idea that people over the last, I don't know, maybe half a century have been confusing free market with pro-business, right? Pro-business and pro-market. And those two things are actually mutually exclusive. If you are free market, you are not pro-business. If you are free market, you are anti-business, because you're creating a situation in which every business has to compete with everyone and they're clawing at each other. You know, being pro-business would be like saying that, you know, no one else can step into, you know, to fill this market void, right? Because there's a business already there. Ayn Rand wrote about this. It's the no dog eat dog rule, right? Where businesses aren't really allowed to compete with each other, right? So that's pro-business. It keeps all the businesses alive, but it's not pro-market and it's not pro-consumer, you know. But that's like, we could take up several hours just talking about this. I knew you wanted to talk about your favorite people in the world. Joe and Kamala getting Person of the Year award from being named Person of the Year by Time Magazine.
No, look, okay. So I have to read this here.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this Time, you know, it says Biden had a vision, set the tone and topped the ticket, but he also recognized what he could not offer on his own. A 78, I can't believe he's 78-year-old white man who could never provide generational change. First off, he never wanted generational change. That man never wanted that shit. He was actually against wanting generational change. He wanted to, no offense, he wanted white people to stay at the top and black people to stay at the bottom, or just people of color to stay at the bottom. That's what he wanted. This man never wanted generational change. So he didn't want,
well, let's be clear, you know, in his own words, what he didn't want is a racial jungle, right? He just didn't want a racial jungle. That's it.
Yeah, well, this is one thing that's true. He said, you know, as a man who can never provide generational change, a fresh perspective. Yeah, we all know his perspective. It's 47 years of perspective and an embodiment of American diversity. For that, he needed Kamala Harris, California senator, former district attorney, and state attorney general, a biracial child of immigrants who carries charisma and tough questioning of Trump administration officials electrified millions of Democrats. The vice president has never been a woman, a Black, or an Asian American. First off, she says, I will be the first, but I will not be the last, Harris said in a separate interview. Like, let's, you know, I'm not going to sit here and, actually, she was not the first, she says, I will be the first, but I will not be the last. Actually, she is not the first female vice president. There was actually one other female vice president before, I believe. Let me double check.
You're not talking about Sarah Palin, who was nominated. I think that was the question a lot of people, you know, were talking about. It's the fact that she kept saying she's the first to be nominated on a major political ticket, and that was actually Sarah Palin. But, you know, Kamala Harris is the first female vice president.
Oh, was she?
Yeah. Now, talking about she's the first Black vice president, that's kind of pointless because we already had a Black president.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, I mean, you're taking a step back, you know?
Okay, so she was the first. She was the first. She was not the first nominated. I guess that's what I was.
Right.
Yeah.
She wasn't the
she
first
was not
nominee.
The first nominated.
Yeah.
But yeah, she, you know, how can I say this? Like, you know, I will give her credit that she, you know, she's going to be a legend for being the first female vice president. I mean, no, in the sense
No.
of what I mean by that is like in the sense that everyone will know that Barack Obama was the first. He's not black, but the first man who pretended to be black to no, not pretended, but said he was just pure black, just so he could be president. He will always become the first black.
A little like Joe Biden. You're kind of sounding a little like Uncle Joe there.
No, because I'm tired. I'm tired of those who keep wanting to use their blackness to get votes or to get praise. Bitch, you are biracial. So say it. So because you're taking credit from those who are black, who will one day become president or who will one day become a vice president who is all black, you're taking credit away from them. And I'm sorry, there's like
hold on, let me ask you this.
And what's wrong with that? Like, and the reason why I say this is because look, biracial people, when it's to their benefit, they can't claim black. But other than that, they will stay away from it. So like,
I do think it'd be funny if all of a sudden we just started calling Barack Obama the first half-white American president.
But what I'm trying to say is that she will be a legend in the sense that she's the first female president. I will not give her.
I'm gonna remember her.
That may be true, but what I'm trying to say, just like everyone knows that George Washington was the first president, everyone knows that Barack Obama was the first black president. Everyone will know that.
Because that was 4 years ago.
It doesn't matter. It's still in history. She will be in history books as the first female vice president. That's what I'm trying to say. That will be her legend. Other than that, I can't tell what she's going to do in her vice presidency to make her become a legend. But as far as her just being a female, yes, that will be in the history books as the first female president. So female vice president. Sorry.
Now she will make history when they exercise the 25th Amendment and kicks Scranton Joe out of office and she takes over. That will be a historic moment. You know, this is going to be the first time in American history where the U.S. president is relieved of office for reasons that everybody already knew prior to him going into office. Right? Like everybody already knew the guy is a little not there. And they're gonna be like, well, you know, he's a little,
the one thing I just will never wrap my head around too is that this man who's 78 years old, you know, like had this been Barack, had this been any other candidate, everything that he has done in his past, like all the terrible things that he have done in his past, it would have automatically disqualified. No one would in their right mind if Barack had the same past as I'm just saying, no, it's true. If Barack had the same past as Biden, just simply because he's black, there's no way, no freaking way that he would become vice president. No, because it's true. When you're black, when you're black and you make mistakes, they're not easily forgiven. When you're white, however, this is truly different. And no one wants to see the mistakes that Biden has done in the past. Like no one even wants to see the mistakes that Kamala has done in the past. Maybe it's because of the fact that she's female. I don't know. But like no one wants to admit any of those.
Hold on. Keep in mind, Barack Obama was exclusively because he's half black.
Yeah, I know.
The man has never accomplished anything. He was a community organizer. Then he was like a term and a half senator, right? And then he became president. Like the man has literally never accomplished anything. You can't say that about any other U.S. politician, right? Or not politician, any other U.S. president. Even the guys that have devoted their entire lives to public service, which I can't stand that term.
But the thing that Barack did have was charisma, and he was very charismatic. The way that he spoke, especially in times when a country, like he was in a way kind of like Reagan when it comes to people speaking, how he can draw in, people in his audience. Like when he's giving a conference or giving a speech, he had the charisma to draw in people with his speaking. And I'm like, that's something like, the Hitler did the same thing. Reagan did the same thing. And that's what Barack had.
But Reagan was speaking of substance, right?
True.
Reagan was saying things that people actually wanted to hear. Adolf Hitler,
You don't
Barack
think-
Obama, they weren't saying things that people wanted to hear. They were saying things that people reacted to, right? It wasn't like Reagan was giving substance and they were giving fluff. Barack Obama and Adolf Hitler were fluffers. That's what they were. You know, there was a news reporter from the United States that actually traveled to Germany. This was before World War II, when Hitler was first consolidating his power, and he came into to one of Hitler's rallies, and you know, it was fanatical. I mean, I could see why. And I could see why people would say that Trump rallies are similar, right?
Yeah.
Because the people there were just absolutely fanatical. But the guy said that he spoke for like 30 minutes and he didn't say anything. That's not what Trump did. Trump said stuff of substance. Reagan said things of substance, right?
True. I felt like I was always at sermon when I would see Reagan videos. I would always feel like I'm in church or something. Like, I swear to God, like.
But think about what Barack Obama said. We need to have hope for change, and if we change, and we continue with the hope, and our hope goes hard enough, and we're audacious enough for the hope, then it can bring the change that we've been hoping for. So what are you saying? Like, land the plane, buddy. What are you saying? I don't understand. It's like the man said nothing during any of his rallies. Like, honestly, I think. Obama. Yeah, I mean, anyway, I did look into this when you mentioned you wanted to talk about the Time Person of the Year, right? I looked into it a little bit.
I was like, why the f did they choose them to be Time of the? Like, what the f did they do? Well,
here's the thing, and I think they've made a couple of terrible choices in the past, right? They basically the way Time explains it, Person of the Year, or as it was before, Man of the Year. It's not like Employee of the Year. So I think it's a terrible title, right? Like it's supposed to be the person that has the most influence on current events. Right. So it's not like when you have Employee of the Year and the guy, throws a bunch of quarter sticks of dynamite under cars in the parking lot and blows up a bunch of people's cars. Like, that's not going to be your Employee of the Month, even though he had the most influence on your employee's life. But
in what way did they have influence?
And that brings me to my second point, right? There's a lot of people on that list that you could argue they're not by any stretch of the imagination Person of the Year, right? They're not great people. Joseph Stalin was on the list twice. Adolf Hitler was on the list. I just looked her up. Let me see the woman's name. Wallis Simpson, right? She was the first woman on the list. Her greatest accomplishment was the fact that she was the first woman on Time Person of the Year list, because she married a duke in England, and it caused this huge controversy because she was divorced and she was American, and they kicked him out of the royal family. And she and her husband, it's like Duke Windsor III or something. They traveled to Germany, met with Hitler, agreed with Hitler, supposedly. They made a deal with Hitler that if he took over England,
gosh.
Yeah, well, they agreed that they would rule England for Hitler in Hitler's name, right? And she was on the list. But you could say this was, I mean, obviously you backed the wrong pony, sweetheart. But besides that, it's hardly influential. It didn't really change anything, right? You could argue that Hitler definitely had severe impact on world events. Uncle Joe Stalin, twice on the list, had huge impact on world events. Ayatollah Khomeini was on the list. Nikita Khrushchev was on the list. You had people on the list that were really just terrible people. And they were on the list because they had influence, right? The guy, I don't remember the name, the guy that took over for Mao running the CCP, right?
Oh.
He was on the list, right? These are not good people, but they are influential. Now, you can't compare Barack Obama, despite starting an illegal war in Libya and creating an entire mass of slaves in the Middle East and basically imploding the Middle East. You can't really compare him to Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin, you know, Ayatollah Khomeini, those kinds of people, right? Mm-hmm. But his legacy is going to be being elected. That's essentially it. Everything that he ever did, blow up the Middle East, right? Trump fixed that. The Paris Climate Accord, Trump fixed that. The economy, Trump fixed that, right? He's got no legacy left. Trump undid everything that Barack Obama did.
Well, except for one, which was, you know, the camps down in the South. You know, for some reason, America seems to think that Trump made those camps. They totally forgot that Obama is the one who built that shit.
Yeah.
Like that shit just really, that's something that Trump inherited. He did not make that shit.
Yeah,
like,
but
that was all. That was all Barack.
Well, here's the thing, and this is why I think this is it's not just a terrible name for, you know, Person of the Year. It's also they make some terrible choices. They named Barack Obama Person of the Year in 2008 before he did literally anything. I mean, before he even tried. He got elected in 2008. He didn't have time to influence the world in any way, shape, or form. Now, I could understand if he influenced it, and then in 2009 or 2010, they named him Person of the Year. They named him Person of the Year again in 2012. Again, this is after 4 years of seeing that he is pretty incompetent. You know, he's got the one legacy behind him, Obamacare, which was a terrible deal for the American people. And you could say that was, you know, that was his legacy. That was his influence on, you can't even say it was on his influence on global politics, right? But it was his influence on the American people. But that didn't happen in 2008. So how are you going to name him? You know, the list essentially should be the most influential Person of the Year, right?
Yeah. And, you know, the one person that I'm, you know, they would never consider him, even though he had such a, if you actually look into the things, and I honestly feel bad for the guy. I do feel bad for Trump, that in the sense that all the things that he has accomplished during his presidency, no one will ever like give him credit for, because the mainstream media doesn't want to bring it up, or they, you know, they didn't want to bring it up, because if they do bring it up, it would actually put him in a really good light. Like all the things that people, you know, all the preconceived notions that they may have of this man, if they might change their mind and their opinion about the man if they knew about all of his accomplishments. And, you know, that's, you know, not to say that he should be in the Time magazine, but one thing I will say is that I feel bad for him in the sense that all of his accomplishments will never, ever be recognized.
He was.
That's just sad.
He was Time's Man of the Year at some point.
I mean, but not because, I mean, not be like, you want to talk about influence and how influential he was during his presidency. He's not going to be remembered for that. People are just going to remember him for the things that the media have said, like took his words out of context and said things about him that were not true. So that's what people are going to remember about him during his presidency. And it's, you know,
I think people remember the impeachment.
Yeah, and that too. They'll remember about even they're like, you know, they'll remember the first 2 years of his presidency where it's just investigation after investigation, but they'll never remember that, you know, none of the stuff that they said that he, It
was 4 years. His entire presidency was tainted by Democratic investigation.
I know, but like for the first 2 years, it was just, you know, all over the news, investigation. And it's like, even though he was not found guilty on anything, they will never, like, that's the only thing they will remember about the guy. And it's like, I feel bad for him, because it turns out, like, when they say, innocent until proven guilty, just because he was Trump, just because he was white, he was already seen guilty. And I'm like, damn, that's usually how Black people feel. Like, I was like, damn, I feel bad for him. Like, in that sense, they had already considered him guilty before even the outcome of this whole entire investigation. I'm just like, damn, like, whew, I thought I had it bad. I thought, other people had it bad, but I feel bad for that man. Like, sad, just truly sad.
Yeah, no, I mean, the guy's definitely the guy's a warrior for the American people. I mean, I don't know what else you can say about him. He's like, he just keeps popping back up. Honestly, he won't stay down. And honestly,
all I have to say is that I hope his son Donald, or the other one, what's his name? Is his name Donald?
Eric, Donald Trump Jr.
Donald Trump Jr. Because I know Donald Trump Jr. tends to be alongside of his father during campaign. I hope one day he runs, because like, I'm tired of these 78-year-olds.
There's a rumor that Ivanka is going to run for office in New York. I don't know if it's going to be for senator. Donald Trump Jr. might run for the governor of New York.
Well, they need to.
Like, well, see,
I actually like
I get it, but look, I get it.
Ivanka, she's still classy and she still knows how to hold her ground, and she's very political. I think she is very smart. I think she knows how to play that game really well. And
she needs to be president. Like, it's about. Listen, let's not kid ourselves.
If it's between her and if it was between her and Joe Biden, I think she would have won, just because she's let's be honest, she's hot and she's smart and she knows about politics. She would definitely won, hands down.
And I think it's about time that we had a hot president in the United States. Like,
and she's young. She's not one of these old fucking, she's not one of these old farts. So I'm like, But then again, I feel like she will fall into the same category of why she became elected president, that like not Joe, but Barack Obama became president, because she's hot and because she's a woman. But it wouldn't be. But she also has done a lot of things too, just from being. Shit, I totally forgot her title, but just for being.
Well, here's the thing. Every kid, like every Trump kid. Mm-hmm. Has I don't know if they really started at the bottom, now they're here, but I don't know if they started in the mailroom, but they weren't just handed positions, right? They didn't just become VPs out of nowhere, right? They went to school. They, I think they all went to Wharton, which is, super good business school.
So they had credentials. They weren't like Betsy Ross, who just had, who had nothing to do with education and just became, because you are the wife of somebody. Yeah.
Betsy DeVos. But no, Betsy DeVos actually, before she was recruited by Donald Trump, she was a huge advocate for school choice, and she did a lot of work with the education system.
Did she?
She gave a lot of money to it. She didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Like, if you're going to talk about Trump's cabinet positions that really have no business being in that position, like, I don't know why a neurosurgeon, brilliant neurosurgeon, the best in the world, why is he the Secretary of Urban Development? Like, what the hell does that have to do with anything?
I guess when it comes to certain things that Betsy DeVos has said about certain schools, I kind of don't agree on. But then again, we're talking about with you and how, education shouldn't be funded by the government anyways. It should be more like, private donors and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I do see the importance in that. But, I guess there were a lot of things that she said during her congressional meetings, that I just did not... Mm-hmm. Like, especially when it came to like marginal communities, it sounded like she wanted to pull more funding away from those types of schools, and it's like they barely get any to begin with. And I just found something like I think very sinister about that. I just didn't like, not to say that I never went to a school like that, but I have seen friends who teach at those types of schools, and I feel bad for those students. And if, at that time I was just a grad student myself, but if I could donate money to help these schools out. Like those would be my first schools that I would give my money to because they're hurting.
That wouldn't go over well. Mark Zuckerberg donated $50 million to the New Jersey public education system, I think, and the money disappeared. Nobody knows where it went. It got swallowed up by the system. So honestly, it's not a good move. What Betsy DeVos was
like give it to the school directly, like not put it in such a public fund like that, because you're right. When, speaking about the Flint incident, like the Flint River incident, where millions of dollars were sent to donated from movie stars, or private organizations to fix that water. And then there was a documentary about why isn't the situation of the water fixed? And they went to investigate where the money was being spent. And they have a ledger of when, how much money was taken from the budget to go towards something, and a description as to who or what that organization and why that money was sent there. A lot of those books were in the description were blank. So no one even knew where that money went. When it comes to that type of system where it's just all public and it goes straight to the government and then they are given the responsibilities to deal with the issue, I think that's a terrible way. I would literally, like when it comes to these schools, I would donate directly to that school. I would not put it in a public fund so that all these, no, I would not do that. Yeah. I'll be like that. I just don't think that's the right way.
Well, and then the principal ends up rolling through and like BMW 7 Series, vice principal shows up.
I would definitely have to. I would have to have like my own account to look after to make sure they know, that money is going towards, going towards the students, or if not, do it how like they have the bailouts, like when these bailouts.
Honestly, I don't think even giving them equipment would go over well, because you could donate 50. You could donate like, $3 million worth of state-of-the-art computers, right? Build a computer lab. And then you show up a month later and all the computers are gone and have been replaced by like Chromebooks.
Well, right?
What happened to the Alienware stuff that you guys should have $1,000 computers. Why do you have a $239 laptop?
Well, for me, when it comes to that type of stuff, I would buy books instead of I would definitely like the computers to be there, but books would be a little bit harder, I feel, to try to justify why the hell you decided to use the book from 2 years ago to educate them. Like, why did you send the current book edition, send those back to the sender or the publisher to get older books? Like, I would definitely be like, why the fuck did you do that? Like, no. Like, I would be like, okay, you're corrupt. Your whole school is corrupt. You don't think that these children deserve the best education. So you should not be an educator. So I guess when it comes to that type of stuff.
Look, the thing is that this is the Republican ticket, right? This is what Betsy DeVos was trying to do. She was trying to create the voucher system, create more charter schools, create a system in which the money follows the student, not the zip code.
I get that, but not everybody can. I mean, have you seen the list of those trying to get into charter schools? So it's even though that is the better way.
What you need is more charter schools.
Yeah,
I need more money for the crappy public teachers union schools. You need more charter schools.
And I agree with you. I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. But with everything will take time. So that's one thing I actually did agree with her on. But in the meantime, until that, I wouldn't say take a shit ton of money away from that, because you just don't know how the third or fourth side effects that could have when there's still a ton of students waiting to get into these schools because the wait list is so long, but yet you don't have the money to erect more charter schools. It's still going to be, but you still want to take away from the crappy ass inner city public schools funding. It's still going to hurt them. Actually might hurt them even more. So it's until you make those, build those charter schools, or at least funnel some of the money away from those schools into charter schools, at least with having them built with the guarantee that since you're taking money away from those schools, then maybe the first students who should be on that list should be coming from those schools. Who's to say that they're doing that? I don't know if they're doing that.
Well, I think the important thing to remember is, right, and this should be something that's established at the very beginning of the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
The teachers' unions are there for bad teachers, right? The teachers' unions do not exist to protect the students. They're not there for the schools. They're not even there for the good teachers. The teacher unions' sole job is to protect bad teachers from being fired. All right, maybe not their sole job, but there was a. I think Stossel did a piece on this. There was a teacher for molesting a student, and so the school fired him, and then he ended up suing the school for breach of contract because they weren't allowed to fire him because he just stopped showing up, which he did because he was in prison for child molestation. Like,
did he actually win the case?
No, he was in jail. To get the I didn't see a follow up on that.
Oh, that would be
I
interesting.
do think that it's very telling that the teachers union provided him with a lawyer to sue the school for breach of contract. It's absolutely insane. You know, so like once you establish that, where do you go? You know,
America, you can sue anybody for anything, even when you are the wrong.
Well, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. We're still the greatest country in the world, which is why.
About that. Well, when it comes to making money, yes. When it comes to building your wealth, when it comes to actually trying to do good for those who are less fortunate, and freedom, yes, I would agree. But when it comes to other things, I'm sorry, Vladimir, I will have to disagree with you on that. I really would.
Would you rather be living in China, for instance?
Huh?
Would you rather be living in China? Which is actually
first off, I never said I would be living in China. If anything, I would live in places like I love Denmark. I would live in Amsterdam. I would have lived in France before, like the whole, the same thing with Germany, like the same thing with Germany. But there's only certain parts of Germany I would go to now. But those, like, for me, when it comes to my freedom, as long as I it's not even really care about the freedom of speech, because I see how freedom of speech is important, but there's not.
You're using it now, your freedom of speech.
No, but when I take into account my whole entire life and what I like to do and what makes me happy, when I go to a lot of these other countries that don't have, a constitution of freedoms of like we have, it really wouldn't bother me, because as long as I know I can get an education, as long as I know I can apply to a job and be given the same, I guess, consideration as any other applicant, regardless of what I look like, that's all I care about. As long as I know I can make my money and, not be, I'm sorry, because when I was in Poland, when I was in Poland and my interaction with the police there was nothing like it was here in America, nothing. So it's like, to me, that's greater freedom than what I have here. So it's like, when your views on freedom, it all depends on the person. But America, I think, is great as far as building your wealth, having capitalism, it's not as free trade and open market like a lot of the Nordic countries are, but you do have the ability here to make a business. And no matter where you come from, like, social economical background is, if you are dirt poor, you can become rich here. You're not limited. The only thing that will limit you is yourself. So I do see that about America. That's the one great thing about America. But when it comes to its values, when it comes to its primary education, America's shit. Like, it really is. It really is. Like, nah. I'm sorry. Primary education in Germany, primary education, in Switzerland, a lot of these other is way, way, way better. Like, But a lot of these kids don't even get into calculus until they get into high school. A lot of these kids don't even bother to teach you another language, which I feel is just.
That's because you live in America. You know the important language in the world? English.
It is English, but
about the rest of the world.
It doesn't matter because now we're such a melting pot. Like even in places like Switzerland, where they have 3 official languages here. You don't think that America should have more than just one official language here? Look at the demographics here.
Official language. We don't have an official language.
But yeah, okay. Well, when you ask a lot of people here in America, they'll tell you this. If you're coming from a Spanish-speaking country, they'll tell you straight up, speak English. It's like speak. Yeah. So you mean to tell me that's not?
Hey, yeah, gosh darn Skippy. All right.
So, but I'm just saying. But you just said there's no official language.
I learned English.
But there's not official language. But yet, like I don't think that we should just have. Just let English. Like I do believe that in before you get to college, even before you get to high school, I do think that you should learn one other language. I really do.
Look, I don't disagree with you that people should know other languages.
At least one other language. At least one.
Look, I'm studying Spanish right now, right? Because I want to. I like Latin America. I like traveling there. So I think it'd be a lot easier if you're in a cab with 2 girls to know if they're talking about, as soon as the cab pulls over, rob him and let's run, right? Like I think that's very important. All right. Which by the way,
that's right.
has never happened to me in a Spanish-speaking country, right? Because they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Mm-hmm. But
I mean,
look, it's I think it's nice to know another language, but I also think it's nice to know philosophy, which is something that most Americans never learn, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But
do they even teach? They don't. That's what I'm trying to say. They don't even teach these types of things. They don't.
I was learning German in high school.
What school did you go to? Didn't you say you went to some sort of like?
It was a public school.
Okay, but that's the thing. I was learning, French. I still like French. I was taking French all through high school and all through college. So, with one goal of possibly moving to I mean, I do. I still brush up on my French too. Like I have this French.
Ooh.
So the reason why is because I had aspirations to move to a francophonic country. So, that was once France, but now I'm looking more like Belgium. So just, not trying to say, if you're watching this, you probably know why I'm saying that, but I'm not going to say it. Okay. But, any other francophonic country, Switzerland, Belgium, I would rather move there.
Not Canada, Montreal. Montreal is fantastic.
I wouldn't mind moving to Montreal either. But I hear they have I hear that they are very, I've heard they're sort of racist. So, like more racist than outside of Canada, the other parts of Canada. So I'm like
that I don't know, but I will tell you this. You know how the Spartans, when a baby is born, if a baby was deformed or something, they just toss him away, like
yeah. Yeah.
You know about this, right?
Yeah.
So they don't, because it was a Spartan society, right? They're all warriors. So
only the strongest survive. Yeah.
Yeah. So like a weak deformed baby, they would just. They
didn't want that. They didn't want that in their bloodline.
Yeah, I swear I got the feeling they do the same thing in Montreal. If they have an ugly baby, they just leave them in the snow. Because I walked around, it got to be a game, right?
Like the attractiveness.
Yeah,
you mean tell me there's like no ugly people there? Bullshit.
There are no. I walked around and I literally I tried to find fat ugly people, and you know how everybody says, well, New York, there's a lot of beautiful women. Yeah, That's because the population density is so high, no matter where you look, there's going to be a beautiful woman standing in front of you. But if you pay attention, if you look closely, her fat, ugly friend is standing right behind her. All right? In Montreal, there were no fat, ugly people. And it got to a point where I was looking. And like, honestly, if I moved up there, I could have cleaned up, because all the women are super hot and all the guys are super douchey, right?
Well,
because I don't know how you're gonna like protect your girl's honor or whatever, or step in if I'm trying to pick up your girl. You're like, oh, monsieur, that is my lady. I will kick your shut up. No, you won't. I will kick your ass, monsieur. No, you won't. I'm American. Go away.
Well, I will have to say this, is that, I thought the same thing when I was all throughout Europe. Well, the parts of places that I was in Europe, that was the one thing I noticed. Not to mention, I lost a lot of weight just walking around too, because a lot of people walked instead of just driving. I know it's more convenient to drive and take taxis and Ubers, but a lot of people walked. And I noticed that too, that when I was in Denmark, except for the UK. The UK actually did have fat people, but oh my God, it sounds so vain. I am not like this, but I just noticed the one thing that came to my mind when I visit places like Denmark and Poland and Germany was that a lot of people walked, and it was very rare to see a person out of shape. Whereas when I went to the UK, it was not like that anymore. Like, I did start seeing people that looked a lot, had more habits like Americans did, like, just fatter.
Yeah, so it
rounder.
turns out, I think we should conduct a study. As it turns out, I think speaking English is what makes you fat.
Oh my God, that's so mean. But I mean, right now I am in the process of learning. I'm using Mango to learn, because I love Denmark. I love it with a passion. So I am actually learning Danish as well, and French. So I mean, one day I would like to learn German, but like, just because when I think of IT in Europe, as far as like being able to hire those outside of the EU, I would probably have a better chance in Germany than I would in
Germany's
Denmark.
in the EU.
I know, that's what I'm trying to say, but like, there's like, when you think of Silicon Valley, like I guess Germany or Munich is Germans, or I should say the EU Silicon Valley to California. So like, when you're looking for a lot of IT jobs, there's a shit ton down in Munich. That's just like, I guess the equivalent, like Bangladesh is like the equivalent to Silicon Valley in India. So each places have their Silicon, and when you think of the EU, like, they tend to not want to hire anyone outside of the EU. But when you go to Germany, because there's so many positions there, Germany tends to hire people outside of the EU, just because there's so many vacant slots. So that's the only reason why I had thought about learning German.
If you're so you want to go there and get, okay, yeah.
I would have a better chance of being able to move to Europe if I learned German and were to apply to a company in Germany than if I were to apply for a company in Denmark, because it's smaller. They don't really have a lot of jobs for, the type of development that I do. And they tend to want to, stay in the EU. Like, it's a smaller country.
Keep in mind, Germans speak English.
I know, but still, like, I'm not going to be that douche. I'm not going to be that American, who goes to that. I'm not learning your language. I just want to speak English. Like, I'm not going to be that douche, okay? Just not going to do it.
We speak English in America.
Yeah, and I'll be like, we speak German in Germany.
Ja, Freund, aber you are in the Deutschland.
You in the Deutschland. You don't speak
German here.
I'd be like, oops, sorry.
I am an American.
Yo, I never told you about this, but I was in Poland, so I was in Poland and I was going to Germany. I had to stop in Germany to go over to UK. I was just so excited, so excited. So when I went to the counter, I shit you not, since I was, boarding a flight that stopped in Germany, the person that was at the counter was German, and
Germany? A German person?
No. I was in Poland. I was in Poland.
A German person in Poland. Oh.
But it was the airline.
You think they stayed after the war?
Oh my God. Damn, that's about. No, I'm just saying that, they worked for the airline, and that airline that I happened to be taking had to stop in Germany, and then go all the way to UK. But I was super excited, and I felt like one of those dumb Americans that, just smiling all the time and all this other stuff, because I was genuinely happy. So, I go up to her, I'm going up to the counter just because I'm excited. I'm just like, hello, how are you today? And she had that typical, I wouldn't say typical, but stereotypical German, cold demeanor, where she was just like, your ticket, please. I was just like,
that's not just Germans. Let me tell you, when my
okay.
listen, when my cousins went back to Russia to visit, right? My aunt and uncle took my cousins to Russia, right? They're standing in lines to get into the museums, and the admission fee is higher for tourists than for the natives, right? And so my uncle had to point out to my cousins that when you're getting your ticket, don't smile, because if you smile, they'll know you're a tourist and they'll charge you extra. So if you want to pass as a native Russian, you can't go up there with this goofy American smile.
I know, right? Just don't do it. Like, as much like I was just genuinely happy. Like, I loved Germany.
The ticket.
It was just like ticket, and the whole entire time trying to get her to smile, I felt like such a douche. But I was happy, and I was really happy because I was traveling, and I just like going to different countries, and oh my god, I was just that douchey American, because like even when she gave me my ticket, I was like, okay, don't forget to smile. And then I go on to go to the terminal. I was like, oh my god, I was just like, I still respect the hell out of them. I just I've always liked that country before it.
Hey, look, I mean, starting 2 world wars. I mean, that's persistence. You gotta tell them. That's persistence.
Other than that, because most of the Germans that I have met, like, other than that, okay, the Germans that I have met are very smart, very kind. They're very stern. They know what they want. And even when I was in Denmark, like, there's just no nonsense there. Like, if you go and ask someone directions, like, they give it to you really quick. Like, they say this, that, and then go on about their way. So it's not like they're not. I'm not trying to say that they're mean and they're not helpful, but they're just very stern about their approach and things.
It's that. And
I actually like that. I actually like that. Like, I have no problem with that at all, because when it comes to like my IT, like not IT work, but just when I'm doing software engineering and stuff like that, I like it when I get my, like, when someone has a clear cut of how they want their software developed. That's what I'm looking for. Like no bullshit, because I don't want to have to do this shit again. Tell me exactly how you want it. And that's what I like, efficiency. I don't want to keep having to go behind myself and refactor shit. I want it done, the right way, the first time.
Maybe you don't need to learn German. Maybe all you need to do is learn the German accent. That way, when people come up to you, you can just be like, I want the code. Give me the code. I know you have the code. Give it to me.
Give it to me. Oh my god.
No. Give it to me. Listen, there's like Russian and German, right? Those two languages. I don't care what you're trying to say. Nothing is going to sound romantic. Mm-hmm. There is no way to sound romantic in Russian and German. It always sounds like you're cursing somebody the hell out.
Yeah, it does. Oh, it's not as romantic as the other
think about this. Я тебя люблю. Я люблю. It's just, now on the other hand, French, Spanish, Italian.
The romantic.
You could curse somebody out. You'd be like,
and it still sounds good,
Be still my beating heart. No, monsieur, you are a pile of dung. I do not like you very much. You are a motherless goat Like, is that what you said? I could have sworn you were really. That
but when
not have been my guess. That's not what I would have guessed.
But it's also too, even if you speak American, like American, if you speak English with an accent, like even if you speak English with an accent, that's kind of the same effect as speaking like a romantic language. So like I don't know what it is, but like for instance, if there's a girl who's speaking English and she's from a country from South America, just her accent alone, like Sophia, the one from Modern Family, Sophia Vargas.
Sophia
Sophia
Vergara. It's like Vergara, I think. Super hot.
Sophia
But yeah, I know about that accent.
Vergara. Yeah, so like she could speak all like she could curse me out in Spanish. She could just speak English, and anything she says in English just sound like, girl, you're so cute. So it's like I think it doesn't matter. Like even if you're speaking English with an accent, it's just like, oh yes. Like so. But yeah, German, like.
Why are you always getting me mad? It's like I just love listening to you yell at me. So like honestly, I don't know.
Man, I know we veered off topic, but I know you wanted to talk
about... Yeah, wow,
about...
you think?
Sorry.
Well, I tell you what, next time I think we should hit up Swalwell, but not in the same way that the Chinese did. Okay? We definitely should talk about Swalwell. All right?
Eric
Swalwell. And I did want to touch on the death penalty, but I think I will leave that for next time.
Okay, yes.
Typing away, clicking away.
Swalwell, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Now,
sleeping with the enemy. Yeah.
What's that?
Sleeping with the enemy, like literally.
Yeah. Now,
physically.
Yeah. He was literally sleeping with the enemy, and not the way people like to say it, like when literally means figuratively. I mean literally, like in the literal way that it means literally, like it's actually happening literally right now. All right.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to leave you with this. I would like to remind you that Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Again, I think you're just saying this just in case it hasn't drilled into their minds yet. Like
I do want to drive the point home. Now, this has been the perspective for the last God knows what hour and a half.
Has it?
Yeah, I am your senior political correspondent or analyst or something, Vladimir,
and
with me,
I'm Leah signing off as the other important person.
Thank you, folks, for joining us.
Until next time.